Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this lunchtime webinar from Quill, How to Go Paperless in 2021. A couple of housekeeping points before we get into the depth of the webinar. I have to confess, as a leader of a technology firm, I have a technology challenge today, and I am speaking to you on my traditional landline phone. If you are struggling to hear me, may I just suggest you up the volume a notch or two at your end. I am trying to speak loudly and clearly, and hopefully you won't lose anything along the way. Housekeeping, I think webinars have become part of our lives these days, but just a quick reminder, if you do have any questions, you should have a panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and I would encourage you to drop any questions into that panel. We do have some colleagues in the background who will be keeping an eye on those questions. If we do run short of time, please rest assured we will get back to you from those questions. So if you don't hear me call you in at the relevant moment later on, then please don't feel that your questions are lost on us. So if you can move on to the next slide, please. And just to introduce myself, those who don't already know me, I'm Julian, Managing Director of Quill, a role that I've been in now for the last 8 or 9 years. And I've got with me today one of my partners in crime, so to speak, in the form of Joe Poole. Joe is one of our sales consultants and has been in the legal industry for longer than she cares to acknowledge, knowing that she had quite a landmark birthday just recently. But she has got a lot of history and can share a lot of fantastic little gems in terms of document management use and how to go paperless in a moment or two. So we just flick on to the next slide in an early introduction, please. And on to the first bullet within that slide, please. I think perhaps just, bring them all up. That's lovely. Thank you. So I think what I would say to you is, it might sound obvious, but why go paperless? And the last 15 months or 16 months, or maybe even 2 years by the time we finish this, really do shed light on why we need to go paperless, or at the very least, paper light, if paperless isn't quite for you. Now, I know that many of you will have worked with your traditional paper files. There is only ever one copy of that paper file. Only one person can be looking at that one paper file, and it can only be in one place. So one of the beauties, of course, of moving to a paperless or paper-light approach is that a great deal of efficiency can be achieved with many of you in your law firm looking and reviewing your paper file at the same time. And it doesn't matter where you are. If your paper file has moved to an electronic paperless form, then it doesn't matter whether you're at home or at work, whether there's a mix of people in different offices. There's a huge yield of efficiency from that. Efficiency also in terms of physical storage space. You may have a lightweight file that's going to take up less space, less archiving costs for lots of heavyweight paper, and of course reducing ink and saving the planet in terms of trees and everything else. And of course the functions that you can use alongside having a paperless system in terms of merging data from your practice management system are a further benefit. No scurrying around looking for this other information at the same time. So lots of people, if we can move on to the next slide, please. Lots of people try to go down a paperless route, and they make mistakes along the way, and we see those mistakes over time. And I just want to share one or two of them with you. The first one is being too ambitious. I've heard many people say, "I'm going paperless." And they haven't really thought through what that means. And I think it's important to think through: is this a paperless journey? Is this a paper light journey? Is it for a department, or is it for the whole firm? The second thing is about process. And again, planning and thinking through the steps, and we are going to share our view as to what those steps are, is really, really important. So think through and plan through what that process looks like, because there are potentially lots of steps involved. My third point is what I call pitching value. And it's a strange phrase. It's a Julian phrase, and it's basically don't pitch too high or too low. In other words, some people say I'm going to go paperless. I'm going to use Dropbox. I'm going to use Google Drive or something along those lines. And really, you don't have the neat integration that you might get from an appropriately developed practice management system. Similarly, you pitch too high and you go all out and buy a very, very expensive scanner. Now, clearly, a decent scanner is important, but it's not just about managing your post coming in through the door. There's more to it than that. The bodge system. By a bodge system, I mean a system that can't really time record, that can't really integrate with Office. The next thing is people not really thinking through the steps in their journey. Going paperless is a chance to rethink your whole journey. I come back to the point about the post. Is it about still wanting to receive mail through the letterbox, or is it making sure that post moves in and out to a different form of technology? And we'll talk a bit about some of those in a while. And finally, this is a change project. And change is the thing that we as human beings are probably the hardest at grasping at times to time. And these sorts of projects do need managing to bring the herd of people in your practice along on this journey. So what we've done is on the next slide, please, is to put together 10 steps of success. From at the one level, setting your goal, through to number 10 being to manage this change project. And I want just to spend a moment or two breaking down this list of 10 points, and we will share these slides with you afterwards, and give you a few observations on how these steps should work. And then Joe's going to follow up and show you at a more practical level in one example of a document management system and going paperless with Quill's solution to help you. So number one, setting your goal. Can we just move on to that slide, please? So just stop and pause for a moment. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Is it a timeline? Are you looking to get a certain your paperless function in place by here we are now in July, by the end of September? Or is it that you want to get a department moved to paperless? Is it that you want to move your conveyancing team or your family team or whatever? So think through, what is it that you want to achieve, and don't try and do too much. It might be that your goal is to simply deal with a department at a time, and then move on to the next department. The second step is all about foundations. Whether it's a property or a business or whatever, building the foundations is absolutely fundamental. And what I mean by that in the context of going paperless is, if you're going to get paperless to work, then our advice is to think through your document templates, your document precedents, your document forms, getting those templates which may have sat on a word processor in the past, getting those templates set up and integrated with your practice management system is probably the starting point. And that's a function that somebody's got to do, or one or two people have got to do in the practice, without involving the whole team. If you get that base layer in place, then you'll get more buy-in from your fee earners and the rest of your team down the line. Once you've got that template in place in terms of your templates in place and your precedents in place, you have got the start of the mechanism for sending your documents outbound. And we'll come on to inbound in a moment or two, but outbound documents, be they going out through email or potentially through a post bureau, something that we have looked at investing in here at Quill. The next step is getting that system that's fit for purpose. And I've already alluded to the fact that a system that is using, let's say, Dropbox or Google Drive or even SharePoint, which doesn't really have the integration with Office or with time recording systems and isn't really built with a law firm in mind, in my view, is a false economy. There are, of course, really, really expensive Rolls-Royces available on the market. And I would question whether you, as a typically small, medium-sized law firm, really, really need that Rolls-Royce system. So it's selecting the right system to meet your needs that's really, really fit for purpose. So we talked about outbound, we talked about the system, and what about inbound, digitizing the intake process? So again, I come back to this point about post. Are you simply going to put a big scanner in and have somebody digitizing all your post as it comes in and pull that data off? Or are you going to look at encouraging your clients, corporate clients or individual clients to use more of email? And are you going to use the likes of Outlook integration to ensure that those emails can easily be fed into your document management system? Can the attachments can easily be picked off those emails? Can you drag and drop or the documents from elsewhere in your business, maybe from a central portal, or just upload a scan that you've received? Or even you may use a third-party bureau, a post bureau, where you redirect all your physical mail, and you can indeed have all that physical mail scanned and made available to you, and then you can upload those details into your document management system as necessary. Step 5, we can just move on to that. Capturing time and attendance. So time is your currency. In a law firm, you know that better than I do. I appreciate not every single discipline is going to be billing based on time, and there's a lot of fixed fee work around. But it's your measure of efficiency of success. How long did this journey take you? So having a system and making sure that you can capture your time efficiently from your work into your document management system is absolutely essential. Similarly, your attendance notes as well. And Joe will show you how that can be achieved very effectively. Managing post and scans, step number 6. Quite simply, I think I probably said enough about managing posts and scans, other than you can integrate a postal system both in terms of incoming information and outgoing printing of letters to a posting bureau, where they have the benefits of economies of scale when it comes to paying our post office. The next step I would like just to touch on is again, this is not just about your documents, your letters, your contracts. It's also about billing. So I was reflecting on preparing for this webinar, and a law firm that I've used and still continue to use sends me an email with their fees, and then 2 or 3 days later I get the same bill in the post, physically in the post. There's no need for that anymore. We all receive our bills by email these days. So make sure that you are sending your invoices out electronically only, and encourage your suppliers to invoice you electronically. But of course, there's a second phase to that bill, isn't there? And that's actually being paid. And it won't be too long by the time we get to the end of September, where we expect to have another piece of this paperless jigsaw available to you in the form of electronic payments. So what we're going to be doing, and I'd encourage you to look out for it over the course of the early autumn, is including the facility to add a link into the email supporting your bill. That link is a unique, secure link which will take the recipient directly to a portal for their specific bill, and they're able to pay that bill online using credit card, debit card, PayPal, Apple Pay, whatever. Or indeed, for those conveyancers are thinking, hang on a minute, I need that's no good for me. I collect my fee as part of the completion process. If you're looking for funds on account, your engagement letter could again embed that link for payment. And not only does that improve efficiency from your paperless move, because you'll end up with less debtors, you'll also get those bills paid more quickly than you may have done in the past. So that's someone to look out for this autumn. Step 8 is about choosing the right technology. This image you can see on the screen here is happens to be the practice manager of a Quill client. I think you look at your desk today, and thank goodness you can't quite see mine, but traditionally we would have had piles of paper on our desk, and we jumped from one pile of paper to another. This particular practice manager, I can't quite tell whether she's actually got 3 or maybe even 4 screens on her desk. But if you are on this journey of going paperless, then if you haven't already done so, I really, really, really would encourage you to have at least 2 screens on your desk environment, if not 3. It's a default position for everybody at Quill to have 2 screens now, and some of our staff, where appropriate, we have moved to 3. So it's about making sure you choose the right tools and right technology. Where are you going to spend your money? And I think what I'm alluding to here is while a decent scanner is important, or potentially important to you, it might be that you need to invest money not in photocopiers but in multiple screens. There's also clever little scanning apps you can get now for your iPhone or your Android phone. And I've sat here for 18 months in a fairly isolated environment, and my scanner has become my mobile phone. They do integrate with portals and actually make document management paperless pretty painless as things go. Then I'd suggest you move on to some of the add-ons, integrated add-ons that you can make this journey even less painful for you. And if we move on to the next slide, I want to rattle through these pretty quickly, but there's things like forms. You know, we've gone from the days of paper forms to the likes of OEA and laser form being on your local machine, to cloud-based forms, and Quill Forms allows you to have that further integration of your document management system and your forms, and that is growing more and more. Similarly, money laundering checks. Now, I've seen some pretty interesting futuristic money laundering systems which can use the camera on your phone to do this whole thing remotely and paperless. But even today, you can do a money laundering check by capturing the details of your client over the phone, if that's what you prefer, and then doing an online check, and the result of that check is completely paperless and stored in your practice management system. Quill Post, I think, is the next bullet point on here. Again, how can you use, if you need to have a mailroom, how can you have that mailroom working efficiently for you if you've got a lot of correspondence that needs, for whatever regulatory reason, to go in and out by post, then Quill Post can potentially achieve that. Money chain. I don't know how many of you are aware, but with the leading banks, it's now possible to, without any capturing or writing down of sort codes and account numbers, to seamlessly upload your payment file from your practice management system, Quill, into your online banking software for the main banks, not for every bank, but for the main banks. Core bundling. Gone are the days where you needed to have a huge, great physical bundle of documents. So if you are using a document management system, look for the value add that a bundling system adds to that. We integrate with Bundle Docs, which means that you can produce those core bundles in a matter of minutes. And again, nothing is printed, nothing is rescanned. I remember walking into a practice not that long ago, just before lockdown actually, where somebody was busy at the scanner and photocopier producing a court bundle, having printed documents from Quill's document management system and then reordering them. Those days are gone. Bundle Docs allows you to do that quite readily. Online payments, I think I've already made the point in terms of that integration and the value that can achieve. And finally, SMS messaging. Some people might think, for goodness sake, Julian, that's out of the arc. But no, it's not. SMS is going to be here for some time yet. It's actually very secure. Nothing is 100% secure, but it is very secure. Everyone worries about sending, for example, bank account details on email, quite rightly. SMS is an alternative, more secure route. Or indeed, if you're a conveyancer wanting to contact your client on the day of exchange or completion rather, then an SMS text message while they're between houses waiting to know whether they can collect the keys or not is a neat little solution to that. And finally, step number 10 is managing this whole process of change. So you've got a huge journey, or potentially a huge journey in here, and someone needs to manage this, because otherwise you'll have a disparate gang of fee earners and paralegals potentially going in all sorts of different directions. So if I could just move on to my last slide before well, the next slide, please, before I hand over to Joe. Could we just move on to the last slide, please? Yes, thank you. So ultimately, what Joe's going to show you is how Quill's document management system, Doxhub, can work for you. It does have a lot of these integrations, unsurprisingly, that I've talked about. It's, I think, surprisingly affordable. This is pitched not necessarily at the Google Drive Dropbox route, which I think is a false economy, nor is it at a Rolls-Royce level either. It's just £19 a user a month. And it integrates with Office very neatly, and it's something that you can access everywhere. So do give us a shout if you're not already using Doxhub, and we can give you a bit of a trial. If you are already using Doxhub and you think, actually, some of the things that Joe's just shown me, I'd like a bit of help in the sort of the space of my own law firm, albeit online, I'm sure we can sort out some training for you. Just mention the fact you've been here today, and we'll sort some decent rates out for you accordingly. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to Joe, and Joe's going to take some of these more practical things and show you how they actually work in practice. Joe, over to you.
Okay, thanks very much. Hopefully you will all be able to see my screen now. Julian, can you see my screen? Yep, you can see my screen. Okay, thank you. There's nothing worse than starting a presentation when you make a switch and nobody can see if you've actually, no one tells you if you actually can't see what I'm talking about. So thanks, Julian. What I'm going to do today is not so much run through a structured demo of Doxhub, because many of you are already using it. For those of you that aren't, I'd be more than happy to run through a full demo from start to finish. But as Julian pointed out, I've been selling case management systems now for over 20 years. And when I go into a firm and people ask me about how can they go paperless, how can they take the leap and go, you know, completely paperless, then I just want to sort of reiterate some of the points that Julian's made and just show you some of the features in the system that can help you go paperless, that can help you go paperless. So, as I say, it's not a structured demo. I'm just going to hit on some points where people have concerns and questions on how they can actually achieve that. So quite often, one of the first things that people ask me is, well, you know, how can anyone find all the templates in the system? You know, where can I store them? So within Doxhub, looking at my screen here, and for those of you that don't use it, I just simply went to case actions, clicked on documents, and the view here is showing me all of the documents that I've saved to this case, whether they've been sent or received. Along the top here, you'll see the templates, and this is where you can quite comfortably store all your standard documents that you would like people in your firm to use. They can simply go to the template of the case type that they're using, and they can therefore see all of the approved documents that you would like them to use within the system. So firstly, yes, your templates can be stored safely and securely within the Quill system, and everybody will have access to this. The second thing that people ask me is, like Julian hit on it actually, if you've got a paper file, what's the advantages of having something, you know, within Doxhub? Well, the advantages are simple, and the perfect storm that we're in at the moment is something like COVID, where everybody now has to work remotely. So by being able to store your documents securely within Quill, within Doxhub, means that everybody can now view these documents. And again, you're not having to print them out, because if you're working on them, you're printing them out, they're stored on your desk, only you can access it. So the advantage of having them stored on your system means that everybody can view them from no matter where they are. They can just log on to Quill, log into Doxhub, and they're here for everybody to take a look at. I've got my subfolders open here, which is something that you can replicate, and you can have subfolders set as a default per meta type as well, so you don't have to constantly create subfolders, although you can do that should you wish to. But the point, as I say, of having your documents is that everybody can view them, and you don't have to print them off. They're here. You can download them, you can print them off whenever you want. We all know you like to touch and feel. Weirdly, one of the things that I do get asked quite a lot is that people just like to, you know, thumb their way through a paper file. And weirdly, not many systems allow you to do this. And this is something that you can actually do in Quill. So just to bring your attention to this, just in case you don't know that you can do this. I've selected a document here, and by clicking on read, what that does is opens up a toolbar at the top with two little arrows, and this effectively allows you to do something on our system that not many others, weirdly, you cannot do on, but you can actually just thumb your way through just by clicking on the little arrow here. It's taking me to the next document, so it does actually give you the ability to be able to thumb your way through as if you're actually touching and feeling a paper file. So, you know, it doesn't sound like a big thing, but it is something that people ask quite a lot. But as you can see, your documents are all stored here in chronological order, and we'll come back to it in just a moment on how we can actually put those into a court bundle. Now, something else that, that Julian hit on that we need to really talk about, and something that's always a bone of contention for people, is, well, how do I deal with my post? My post comes in, I scan it, and then what do I do with it? So there's a couple of different ways that we can deal with this for you. Okay, first of all, if you've got you can either scan to a network or you can scan to email, and every firm does it differently. So I'm going to show you how you can deal with both of those and do this paperless as well. You get your post in, you scan it, you send it to the location that you want to send it to. Okay, this is my little example here. So I've scanned them into here. I can simply grab a document that I want to pull into the system, and very easily, and I can do this on a singular document or multiple documents as well, but for demo purposes, I'm just going to grab a single document and I'm just going to simply drop it into Quill. Could not be simpler. I can then tell it which subfolder it needs to live in. I can label it up, which then allows me to filter and find my documents a lot easier. But the other thing to bring your attention to when you do drag and drop a document in, so whether it be something that you've scanned in your post, importantly, it will always drop it in on the date that that document was last modified, because what you should be looking for is that it gives you a true chronological listing. If you did want to change that date, you are able to. So again, not many systems allow you to do that, and you could actually record the time in for reading a scanned post and dropping it in as well. So quite a few stones that you can kill, quite a few birds rather that you can kill with one stone there. Really easy to do it that way. The other way that you could do it, a lot of people get their posts sent to them by email. So, we just need to find a document here that's got, there we go. So, you may scan in any post, send it to email. How do I send that? I can simply right click here and then I can save my attachments to Quill, either by the drop down here or go into my ribbon bar, but I can just simply save this post to Quill and then select which matter I actually want to save that to. So again, dealing with posts on the system, any scanned post within Quill becomes very easy and allows you to go paper light with this. Another thing that people ask us about is attendance notes. So quite often when you're time recording in Quill, you may have your document that you've worked on, and then when you go to save it, at this point, as you all know that do actually do time record using DocsHub, it allows you to do your time recording here. So I can simply put in how many units I've done, what it is that I'm working on, and I can now do an attendance note, which would go here. Okay, so we can write what we want here. And once I've done that attendance note, now, as you all know, that the people that time record on the system, the attendance note is always held against the ledger under time. However, a new feature that we put in a couple of months ago, but could easily be missed here, is the ability to upload that attendance note to DocsHub as well. So not only will that be stored against your time record, but now your attendance note can also be stored in DocsHub, and then you could have all of your attendance notes in one single place. And again, if you did want to print them off at a later time, you could download those and print them off, but you may not need to. So just have them electronically on the system and know that you've got the ability to download those should you wish to. So another problem solved. Another thing that we can also do is label your documents. And the point of labeling your documents is so that we can find them easily within the system. So if you can see here, I have a label against this particular document. Why am I showing you this? Because when I go to use bundle docs within the system, for any document that I've marked up to put into a court bundle, I can select. So my view just purely shows me all of those documents. I can then simply go up here and I could launch bundle docs from within Quill. So again, you're not having to leave the Quill environment. You can completely launch bundle docs from within Quill to produce your bundle, which will give you an index content and also paginate your documents for you as well. The other thing that you can do within Quill to help you go paperless or paper light is actually use Quill Forms. Quill Forms is charged by a user per user rate, and you can launch your form from either this environment or from within the case yourself. So when you're in DocsHub, if you wanted to go to your forms library and search for a form and be able to launch it from Quill, then you're also able to do that. The other thing that you can actually do on here is actually share your forms with your clients as well. And you do this via a portal through the forms environment with Quill. It could be that you're a conveyancer and you need to do a fixture and fitting form. So you need to complete stuff, you need to send it off to your client to complete. So they can actually do that electronically through a portal. And it may also be worth knowing as well that any of your documents themselves can also be sent via the form portal to your client. So it's a safe environment for you to be able to do that. And just going back to scanning as well, I did forget to mention that you can also grab any documents and put them through the Post Bureau as well, which is also coming soon. So Julian also mentioned SMS texting. Why would you want to text your client? Well, it may be that you want to alert them of something, of a meeting, of an appointment, in the same way that your dentist or your doctor would send you a text message. It is a one-way text, so they can't reply to it, but you would simply add who this is going to. Here we can see that I've got my client's details. It would have the telephone number for that client. It would always show who's it from, which would be your firm. You could save the message, you know, or look at saved messages, so it's easy to be able to just pick off a standard message, or you can free type into it and then save that against the actual matter as well, so you can actually keep a record electronically of all the text messages that you've actually sent via the system. So just the last couple of things to finish up of common questions where people are a bit anxious or nervous about going paperless on the system. Again, Julian's already mentioned it when we're talking about money chain, which we would do through our echips. So if you're going to make a payment out using your echips, once you do this now, we've selected the case, who it's going to. I'm just going to put a quick amount in here. Put in a quick reference. And then what this will do is put in the sort code for you, the account number, and then it would actually validate that. So you can clearly see now at the point of being the fee earner of producing an electronic chit, it will now put some points of validation in. So it will validate the sort code, it will validate the account number. You can then complete the rest of the chit, and then you can send that to your cashier to post. So again, very simple and straightforward to be able to do this. The advantage as well of doing this, it does cut down on any risk of then the cashier actually retyping anything. They're not misreading anything on a piece of paper that you've given to them. It's all very clear in electronic format. They can then upload that to the bank without having to retype anything, cutting down on risk and making sure that all the details are correct that the actual fee earner has put in themselves. Lastly, of course, Julian also mentioned doing AML checks. So when you're putting a new client and matter onto the system, at the point of doing this, you can actually do an electronic check on the system should you wish to. Of course, you can do this manually, and we don't make you use our own verifying check on the system. But again, if you did want to go paperless, and at the time when clients aren't happy to travel and come into your offices, you can simply perform a check very easily by Quill, and it will hold that electronically on the system as well. And really, they're just some of the points that I wanted to hit on whilst we're talking about going paperless that people always have concerns about, just some common problems and questions that people do come up with. Of course, if you would like to see this in more detail or talk to us about this, then, you know, by all means do contact us at Quill and we'd be happy to do this. That's everything that I just wanted to touch on. Julian, I don't know if you've got any other things that you'd like to say.
Right, thank you, Joe. That's fantastic, and hopefully I'm back online and everybody can hear me. I do apologise. I hear a couple of people couldn't hear us early on, but I think the majority of the 100 or so people on this webinar can hear us. There's been one or two questions in the background that we'll try and take, and I'm probably, Joe, going to put you on the spot here slightly. I might have to get you to almost walk you through where to go. One of the questions has been about, well, it's been two or three questions actually about SMS. It's this thing that's been around for donkey's years as a technology. And Joe, you showed us there how to send an SMS. Joe, I wonder whether I can get you to, since you've got control of the screen, to go to the settings area, if underneath your name, and then are you still there, Joe?
Yep, I'm still here. I'm just going to move
Under your
this.
name, and then to tools. Sorry, tools.
Yep.
And then company profiles. I think it's, or is it preferences? I can't remember. Just try company profiles first for me over on the left-hand side at the top. No, okay, then go down to preferences then, preferences possibly. I just want to remind myself, damn, it's not there either. Where is the SMS? I put it in a newsletter. I put myself on the spot and I put you on the spot, which is perhaps it is in company profiles after all. Just go back to company profiles. SMS, yes, it is there. It is there. Bottom of the screen, bottom left-hand corner underneath. Yeah. So anybody. So two questions. How do you set it up? So do it better than I've demonstrated here, folks. But under your username in the right-hand corner, select tools, then company profiles. You've got 11 characters in that SMS company name, which is something that your clients are going to be happy they recognise as being you. Once you've done that, you can start sending text messages in the way that Joe described. And if you go back to our newsletter back in June, there's an article on this which describes it far better than I'm doing now. The other question that's associated with this, folks, is how much does it cost? It costs 4.5 pence a text, and that gets automatically added to your bill in arrears. So we track how many text messages are being sent. We don't see what's in the text, but we just track a count of the number of texts sent, and that will automatically get added to your bill. So just pop your phrase on there. We've put in Quill demo, do one, send one, text yourself to make sure you're happy with it. As Joe says, it's a one-way route, and away you go. If you're still struggling, my explanation is something good enough, by all means, give our support team a call. So that was one area. Another question has been about creating labels for documents. My view on creating labels is that Microsoft Word is actually the best way of creating labels. You can configure Word to create labels to all sorts of different sizes, depending on the label size that you require. Again, if the individual who's raised this wants to discuss it further, then I'm more than happy to share that with him.
Can I just jump in there, actually, Julian?
Joe, by all means.
Sorry to interrupt you. It's really easy to create a label from here once you've got them set up. So I'm just looking at a document that didn't have a label on. I can simply look at it even in read only and just then click on labels, select, and you can have more than one label as well on a document, which then makes them searchable. So I quite like the labels. I find that if you think about a paper file, and sometimes you mark it up with a post-it note, the labels do the same kind of thing, but then it obviously becomes even more powerful, because what I'm able to do then is actually search for my documents by the labels that I've actually marked up.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So complete apologies, Jeremy. I thought you were talking about wanting to create post labels, and obviously you're talking about the labeling of documents. So complete cross purposes in there. Apologies for that. Another question that we've had while we've been during the webinar is about the start process. Where do I start? And I go back to the comment that I made about setting up your your precedents and your client engagement letters and all of your documents. So we in-house call it tagging. This is basically making sure that your templates are set up with client name and address, etc. And if you start by getting those templates right, and Joe's going to show us a template here. Joe is showing us on the screen the various tags, and there's a whole library of tags that you can bring in to a templated document, and that is really the starting point. That is the foundation of making sure that you have a system that people will buy into. Once you've got those templates set up, your document production process is a lot more efficient. You can then send that document by email, if that's your chosen route, to your recipient. You could send it via the post bureau if that's what you chose to do, or whatever. But getting that foundation in place is really important, and that's where the yield comes from. I think Joe just wants to add one further comment to that. Then we're going to have to wrap up for other reasons. Joe, just back to you for a second.
Sorry, something that you guys all already have anyway within Quill is case contacts. So when you are using Doxhub, I always encourage people to use this. So you've got a central contact database that the whole firm can use and share and add to. And then within the case, as you can see on my example, I've got case contacts that are actually involved within this particular case. So when I go to write to them, I've then got a full list of people who I can actually choose to write from. The other point that I wanted to make as well, that some people aren't aware of, that I would just like to highlight to you very quickly, is that we mentioned tags. Now, an tag can be picked up from anything that you write on the summary screen here, but you can also add within the system custom case fields, which you can build yourself, and it's really simple to do. Even I can do this. So you can have custom case fields against the case, and you can actually pick up then tags and actually then merge information from here onto your standard document and letter as well. I just would like to add a little caveat here though, that any system's only as good as the information that you do put in. So just make sure if you are going to use that to make sure that you've got the correct information in there. But if you do have, it will do the work for you and populate the document for you a lot more effectively. Sorry, Julian.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, well, we need to wrap up. I know there have been one or two other questions that we haven't covered. We will cover them directly. I know one or two people have been asking about bundle docs. We will get you some... we will get in touch with you directly and get you in touch with the Bundle Docs people, give you a demonstration and a trial as to how that works, and can talk about pricing with you. The pricing does depend on volume, and so we can work that out. So thanks everybody very much indeed for joining us this lunchtime. I hope you've all been able to hear everything, see everything. There will be a recording of this available afterwards, and we will follow up on any answered questions. Enjoy your afternoon, and we do have some other webinars coming up in the course of the summer, covering things such as marketing, such as managing your HR team as well, and then we will be launching our integration with legal later on. That's LEGL later this late summer, early autumn, where you'll be able to get your supplier payments. And yes, I know one or two people have been asking about that already. Someone's just asked a question about that. We will, the Quill marketing machine will kick into action, and we will, I can assure you, we'll be sharing that information with you in due course. We can, for those of you that want it here and now, we do have a route to giving you a solution which is not integrated, but the integration is where the real power comes from. Folks, I'm going to say cheerio, enjoy your afternoon. We've got some hot weather coming up for the next week or so. Enjoy. Cheerio, bye-bye.
Thank you.